Have you ever wondered what it would be like living in a tourist town? Well, today we're going to discuss the pros and cons of living in a tourist town like Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We're going to talk about some of the great things that it offers living in a place where there's tons of tourism, as well as some of the things that, well, they might drive you a little crazy. So let's get into this. And first, I want to talk about some of the pros, some of the things that make it great living here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But before we get into that, I should probably give you a little bit of demographics. Here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, our population for the entire county is right around 450,000 people. If you look at inside the city limits of Myrtle Beach, that number is going to drop down to under 40,000. But each and every year, millions upon millions upon millions of people visit our beach towns all along the Grand Strand every single year for months at a time. And so would you say we're a tourist town? I definitely think so. So as somebody who's lived here now since 1998, so I'm on year 26 of living here in the Myrtle Beach area, I have found some great things that I enjoy about it and some things that I don't. And so the first thing that I think is the biggest pro of living in a tourist town like this is that we have a tremendous economic boost to our local economy from all of the tourists that come and visit every year. As I mentioned, millions of people come to the Myrtle Beach towns all the time throughout the year, and they bring with them their money. People are on vacation, and when you go on vacation, what are you going to do? You're going to eat out more. You're going to go to different attractions. You're going to shop at places. You're going to go out and experience things that you wouldn't do at home on a regular basis. And when all of those things take place, it brings a tremendous amount of economy into our area and an increase that you can't imagine. People are going to places like Broadway at the beach, and when they come in town, it's not just one or two people, it's usually the entire family, which might be 4 to 6 people. Plus they come with friends, which is another 4 to 6 people. And so you have these large groups of 10, 12, 15 people going out to eat at a restaurant. They're spending hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for that meal. Then after they finish there, they're going and visiting some of the stores around Broadway at the beach and spending a few $100s more. They're then taking some time going over to some of the attractions like the Upside Down House or over to the aquarium or things like that, and visiting some of the different attraction things that take place right there at Broadway at the beach. And they're spending more money to enter into these places. Tickets might be $20, $30, $40 at some of these places just to get in. They go in, spend 2 to 3 hours. While they're in there, they're visiting the souvenir shop because the kid needs that little fun toy, and dropping another 10, 15 bucks. And so as you can see, it can bring just this huge economic boost to our area each and every day. Then the next day they're getting up, they're going out and they're golfing, or maybe they're going to places like Topgolf or Pop Stroke over at Broadway at the beach, or maybe they're just spending time on the beach, right? But before they go to the beach to do that, they go down to the grocery store. They're picking up their supplies for the day, some snacks, some lunch meats, some drinks, things that they need to have a good time while they're down at the beach. They're here for maybe a week, 10 days, and during that time, I would imagine that their average expenses is probably anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000. In addition to that, they're also then having to pay for their lodging. So that's another $2,000 to $3,000 of income coming in. So you can see how this can be a huge economic boost to our area. So what does that mean for you as a local here? Well, what that means is that then you're going to have a lower cost of living. You're not going to have high property taxes because we're stimulating our economy, getting money from other places. So that reminds me then of my second point that I want to make of a big pro of living in a tourist town is that you can have here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, fairly low property taxes. If you own a $300,000 to $400,000 home and it is your primary residence here in the Myrtle Beach area, you can expect your taxes to be anywhere from maybe $1,500 to $2,000 for the year on that property. Now, if you don't own it as a primary and it's registered as a second home or an investment home, it's going to be much higher. Once again, playing up to the tourist side of things, people who own property here as an investment, they're paying a significant amount more. For example, my wife and I, we own an investment property. The investment property value is significantly less than our primary residence, but the taxes on our secondary home is way more than that on our primary. Yeah, it's a little frustrating with somebody who lives here locally, but it's part of the economy. These things all help to stimulate the economy, bring revenue in so that we can have the things we need here in the Myrtle Beach area. So the first point, as I mentioned, great amounts of revenue coming into the area with the tourists in town. The second thing is lower property taxes. And then the third thing that I would say, and probably one of my favorite parts of living here, is just tons of things to do. Here in the Myrtle Beach area, you will never get bored. Whether that's taking a trip to one of the nightly shows, there's great places like the Greg Rolls Legacy Theater, or the Carolina Opry, or the Alabama Theater that you can go see a show just about any night of the week. There's also other amazing things you can do. Like I mentioned earlier, go visit Top Golf. Go to one of the plenty of different miniature golf places that are in the area. Maybe you want to go bowling. There's some great spots to do that, like 810 Bowling down in Market Common, or Stars and Strikes over at the Coastal Grand Mall. There's also places up in North Myrtle, in Conway, all over that you can go and do all this type of fun activities. In addition, maybe you like to do water activities. There are so many of them to do as well. Yes, we have the beach, which is the biggest attraction in our area, but maybe you're someone who says, I want to rent a jet ski. There's definitely that you can do. Or there's tours that you can go out on boats that go out nightly or even during the day. You know, down in Murrells Inlet, one of the cool ones that I want to do one of these days is there is a pirate ship trip that you can take. And it looks like so much fun. Get to go out there, arg! I can't wait to do it one of these days. But there's so many things to do. In addition, we have so many other stuff that I could sit here and talk about it for the next hour and not even list everything out there. So when it comes to a place like Myrtle Beach, you're gonna definitely find things to do. And that doesn't even touch the restaurants. Have you heard this statistic before? I've shared it in the past. But did you know that here in the Myrtle Beach area, we have enough restaurants that you could eat 3 meals a day for a year and a half and never eat at the same place twice? The question is, we have to find the places that the locals love and not just the tourist traps. And we'll talk about that more when we get into our cons here in a little bit. The fourth thing on our list that I think is a big pro is that Myrtle Beach has great opportunities for entrepreneurs, people who want to own their own business, who want to create their own success. There is great opportunity to do it here in the Myrtle Beach area. Why? Because we have millions of visitors every single year. So if you're creating some sort of business that would cater to those type of people, you have great opportunities for success moving forward. There's a lot of opportunities out there to do so many things, and every single day I hear somebody mentioning, hey, I started this business, and I'm like, man, that's an amazing idea. Why did I never think of such a thing? And then when I start to think about it, I'm like, man, it's gonna do really well here in the Myrtle Beach area. But because we have millions of visitors every year, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to have success if you wanna have that entrepreneurial spirit moving forward. And the fifth thing on our list is that with all of the increased people coming to our area, a lot of them are traveling to our area by airplane. You know, back in the day, we used to come visit Myrtle Beach and everyone would drive here. But over the last several years, people have learned that they can get here by an airplane pretty quick and pretty easy. And so with millions of people coming through our airport each and every year, what that has done is it has meant that our airport has expanded. They have redone the terminals. They have made things larger. They have made things greater. And with that taking place, more and more airlines are starting to bring flights here to the Myrtle Beach area. What that means for me as a local is that when I want to travel and go somewhere in the country or even outside the country, I have options from here in the Myrtle Beach area. Now, the one downside that I will say is that we still are a fairly small airport. We're not much larger than most high schools in big cities. But what that means is that I can at least travel from here and get to other places, but more than likely, I'm gonna have to take a connecting flight. So if you're traveling to the area, just know most of the time, you're gonna connect through 2 main spots, either Charlotte if you're going on American Airlines or Atlanta if you're on Delta. But other than that, you can have a great time getting out to anywhere you want to go, anywhere in the world. So now that I talked about some of the pros of living in a tourist town like Myrtle Beach, let's talk about some of the cons. And the first one on our list is that when you go to these sections that are touristy, you're going to expect to spend a little bit more money. Going to restaurants over at Broadway at the beach, you may not get as good quality of food or the service, but the cost is going to be the same or sometimes even a little bit higher. Going to places like the Myrtle Beach Pelicans for a baseball game, you're gonna spend more money to get a soda there or a hot dog. or going to some places around Broadway at the beach, like the Upside Down House. They have some great things to do inside, but they're additional fees, and it can get a little costly to do those things. Unfortunately, when you live in an area where there's tourism things, they know they can charge a little bit more. Why? People are on vacation. When you're planning to go on vacation, you've budgeted money and put it aside to go and have a good time. It's not something that you spend that much money each and every week of the year, but for that 1 or 2 times that you get to go away on vacation, you've saved up so that you can go have a big time, have experiences that are going to last you to the next time you can come back. So you're willing to spend a little bit more money. So what does that mean? When you go to the tourism things here in our area, they can cost a little bit of money, whether that's going to one of the nightly shows. Tickets might be $25, $35, $40 for some of those shows, or going to maybe, a movie theater, it might be a little bit more. Things like that are gonna cost just a little bit more here in our area. So just know that when you live here, if you're gonna do that. Now, as someone who's a local, you try to stay away from those things and you only do it when they have specials. For example, one of my favorite restaurants to go to is Rio's Brazilian Steakhouse. And every year in February, it's their anniversary month here in our area, they run on Sunday afternoons half price specials on their buffet. So instead of having to spend close to $50 a person, it's usually right around $25 to $30. So it's a huge discount and you get to enjoy all of the great food that they have at a very good discounted rate. Same thing happens at different places like Sweet Frog, one of the great little frozen yogurt places in our area. They run specials where, hey, on Wednesday nights, all you can eat type thing. And there's different spots like that that have local specials and things in place each and every week. So the second biggest con about living in our area is the congestion. What that means is that when you go into certain sections of the beach, it's going to just be very, very crowded. During peak season, July, when everyone's in the beach visiting, it can be a little hectic to get around, and traveling from one spot to another could take an additional 15, 20 minutes to get around. Now, as someone who's lived here for a while, you start to learn the shortcuts and back roads to get around a lot of the traffic, and you try to avoid any of those areas. So what does that mean for me? The first thing is I try to always avoid 501 on a Friday or Saturday afternoon. That is the main thoroughfare that people use to come in and out of our area, and traffic can get backed up pretty substantially on that road, which can make it take an extra long time to get to where you want to be. The other thing that you're going to learn is there's side roads like Highway 31 that I mentioned many, many times in the past that allow you to get from the northern end of the beach to the southern end. You get on it, it's 6 lanes, 60 miles an hour plus, and just get on and go. And that allows you to get around a lot of the tourism and a lot of the traffic that goes on. But unfortunately, there still are going to be times where you're going to have to go through some of that traffic and deal with that congestion. So just know that during high tourism times of the year, plan a little bit of extra time, have a little bit more patience. Maybe don't drink that second cup of coffee before getting behind the wheel, and just calmly drive to where you need to be. The third thing on our list that goes along with the congestion as well is the wait times. When you go to some of these restaurants that are the popular ones in the tourist areas, just know that during the season, you're gonna wait, and you're gonna wait a significant amount of time. I shared this in the past, but back in August, our church did a baptism down at the beach, and it was in the evening, so it was around 6 to 7 o'clock at night, and we finished up and we were leaving there right around like 7:45 to 8 o'clock. And I said to my wife, since we're over here on the east side of the waterway, which during the year we don't go over there very much other than go to the beach, I said, let's go eat at one of our favorite restaurants, Carolina Roadhouse. And so we packed up at the beach, got in the car, drove up there. I got out of the car and walked in, and it was an hour and 15-minute wait at almost 8 o'clock at night. So we simply got back in the car, drove on over a little bit, went to a different place, walked in the door and ate right away. When you're in a tourism town like this, just know that some of those popular spots, they're gonna have waits, and it could be fairly significant. So one of the things you're going to learn is where are some good local spots to go eat instead. For my wife and I, one of the spots we found recently, it's over here in the Carolina Forest area. It's called Flaming Fin. They serve Asian food, sushi, all that kind of stuff. And it's always very good. The prices are extremely affordable. And It's large size portions. Another spot that I just recently went to was Full Belly Barbecue, and it was pretty good as well. A little bit more expensive, but it was some delicious barbecue. Both spots, every time we've walked in the door, I've literally walked in, got a table right away, sat down, and was able to eat with not a problem at all. So as a local, you start to learn where are those local hot spots that we can go, get a table, sit down and eat, and not have to wait 20 minutes, 40 minutes, or even an hour and a half. We don't want to wait anymore. Don't care if we're in a tourist town or not, we're not gonna do it. We're gonna find other options. The fourth thing on our list that is kind of a con and a downer, but because we are such a popular town and there's so many things to do, what it does is it makes for some of our businesses more competition. It makes it a little bit harder at times for businesses to succeed because there are so many options. You know, if I'm thinking about starting a restaurant tomorrow, and I've been told in the past, now this has been told to me, that I make some pretty good barbecue. Smoking meats, pork butts, all that kind of good stuff. And I've had friends say, Jeremy, you should open up your own restaurant. In fact, I have the idea, if I ever did it, I'm going to call it Blanton's Butts. I know it sounds amazing, doesn't it? But one of the reasons I've never taken the time to go and create this business and follow through with it is that there are so many other options for restaurants in our area. And not just restaurants, but even just barbecue restaurants. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, Full Belly Barbecue, really good, really popular. There's Swig and Swine in downtown Myrtle Beach, extremely popular place for barbecue. You have Dickie's Barbecue, which is all right, but it's another popular spot. You got Little Pig's Barbecue, which is another extremely popular spot with the locals. And so those are just 4 or 5 different restaurants that just do barbecue that I would be competing with. Unfortunately, as we've talked in the past, pricing on rent, purchasing, all that stuff have gone up over the last few years. And so in order for you to run a business now, you have to make it extremely profitable. I don't have the time to put into it, so therefore I've not done it. But one of these days, who knows, maybe you'll see that sign, Blanton's Butts. Blanton's Butts. And the fifth and final con of living in our area is that one of the ways that we keep our taxes down is that we put then sales tax on things that we allow those millions of tourists to pay when they're in town. I talked about when tourists are in town that they're coming with set amount of money that they're willing to burn. It's basically burning a hole in their pocket. They're here for 7 days. They want to spend it and not go home with it. They want to experience everything. So it's okay when they go out to a restaurant if there's an additional 1 or 2% sales tax on whatever they're purchasing. As I talked about in a video not too long ago, if I go over to one of the local little hibachi places here, chicken bowl might be $7, $8, but there's going to be close to an 11.5% sales tax on that. If I were to buy an alcoholic beverage, maybe they serve, sake, I think it's called, but if they serve that and I wanted to buy one of those, that would have like a 15 to 16% sales tax on it. So when we as locals go out to restaurants, go out to eat, we also have to pay those taxes. Now, what do those taxes do? They help to fund road expansion in our area. They help to fund some of the emergency personnel and things that we need like that. And all of those fees come in to help keep our cost of living here, our property taxes, at a lower rate. So while it is a little bit more that I have to spend when I go out, luckily, I don't have to go out to eat very often. Instead, we can always cook at home and save money that way. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video on some pros and cons of living in a tourist town. As always, if you enjoyed it, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, get the bell on, and if you're thinking about taking a move to the area, do me a favor, go over to jeremyblanton.com, click the book a call, and we can discuss your needs of moving to the area and making the best plan to get you moved to Myrtle Beach here in the near future. Hope you have a great day. See ya.